Here we go. In 3, 2. And joining us now on the Zados Investments guest line, we welcome back to the show from Inside the Birds podcast and a brand new Twitch show, obviously on twitch.tv. Adam Caplan joins the show Monday through Friday, 7 p.m., talking to you for an hour about all things NFL. Adam, congrats on the show and welcome back to this one.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Yeah, we really enjoyed doing it. Last Friday, we debuted on the second day of the draft, and thanks to Twitch, we had like 12,000 people viewing. It was kind of nice not to get all Eagle fans. Typically with these, like the last 3 days, it's been like Eagles, Browns, Eagles, Raiders, Eagles, and it's cool. But the good thing is the people that are showing up for the Eagles fans ask some really good questions. We get some smart fans in there, so we always like that. But it's fun. It's, as you know, Mark, because I know you have a channel there. It's a different medium. It's something that is new. Although I'm usually the first person in with new technology. It's definitely different because, it's usually the gamer crowd where people make a lot of money. These kids are making millions on this thing. And it's just comical. I'm like, all right, hey, listen, if kids are making it, at least you and I can make some money. So I figured, all right, why not? And it's been fun so far.
Yeah. Maybe you and I could just play like a game of Madden while we're talking football.
I haven't played Madden, Mark, since probably the mid-'90s. I've heard it's great. I just haven't played it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, I mean, Adam, I don't know if I ever told you this. I played like on PS2. And then I didn't get a new gaming system for like a decade, and then played on PS4. Oh my God! It's like you could talk to the players. It's amazing. That's
what I hear. It's what is it like? I don't know what they call it, franchise mode. I honestly, I haven't seen it since the mid-'90s. So I don't even. It's like if you mention a bunch of things, I'm like, what? I don't know that thing. I don't know anything about it.
Adam, let me ask you this. And you said Eagles fans were asking good questions. I'm sure it was all about the draft for them. Let me just ask this general question for you. Hey, how'd they do? How did the Eagles do it?
You know what? I thought I haven't graded drafts since I worked for FoxSports.com. But everyone's asked me. I thought they did a solid job. If I happen to be grading, I'd give them a B, B minus, B minus. Certainly not an A or an A minus. I like the trade up for Smith. They only gave up a third. I would have preferred trading up for Patrick Surtain. They didn't do that. I was told before the draft it was going to be for an offensive player. I thought maybe Justin Fields. Nope. They wanted Smith. It was one of the 4 players Jeff Mosher and I heard they were targeting. They got Smith. Fantastic football player. Got no problem with it in general. He's a stud. He's a stud.
Okay. Yeah. So some people are worried about the weight. That's the negative side of this. Where are you on that when it comes to DeVonta Smith?
Yeah, his weight. He had 2 weights taken measurements. 170 was the first one. 166 was the second. 166 was the most recent. His playing weight should be around I was told mid 170s, high 170s by the time he gets into their offseason program. Maybe by the end of training camp, who knows? But the problem is also with training camp. Moshe and I were talking about this with Derek Barnett. Derek Barnett was 235 to 240 at the start of training camp last year. Then he got up to in the low 250s, which is his usual playing weight. You do worry about it in the hot and warm weather that he loses all that. That if he puts on bulk, he loses it. So it's concerning long term, but I'm not overly concerned. That to me is the only issue, because very thin frame players have a history of injury in the National Football League. That's something that teams have told me privately. You do get concerned about that, but the Eagles, apparently, from talking to them, they have absolutely no concerns about
it. How do you see him fitting into this offense? Is he going to be a guy that's going to be in the slot and on the outside? A lot of crossing patterns, a lot of fly routes. What do you see for DeVonta Smith in the NFL?
It's a good question, Mark. I would say everything and anything. I think they'll line him at every position: X, Z, slot. Move him. He'll be moved a lot. He'll rarely be stationary. A, because of his frame, and B, because that's the way he was used at Alabama. He's super explosive. I cannot wait to see him. I remember when Deshaun Jackson was in 08 as a rookie and watching him run a training camp, because they're similar. This kid's 3 inches taller. And the funny thing is, Deshaun Jackson's rookie weight was between 166 and 168. Think about that. And he was bony as heck as a rookie. Yeah. This kid is even thinner, but a team that interviewed him at his pro day, he had a shirt off. I was kind of laughing with this coach told me. He goes, he didn't look like a guy who was 168 or 170. He looked a little bit. He was well built for a guy who's that thin. It was the guy's point.
And I always like to say this: no one's ever come to Philadelphia to lose weight. Like that's kind of what we do in Philly. We like to put the pounds on people.
Beef them up. Yeah, beef them up. Absolutely. Oh, yeah, and funny, did you see what he said on Twitter? He wanted to know where the best cheesesteak places were. I thought that was great Great way to get the fans behind you. Smart move.
Yeah, and also flood your comments and mentions as well on Twitter.
That's right.
Now I want to move on to the second round pick, Dickerson.
Yeah.
Injury history there. How concerned? I know the upside is there in terms of talent. Injury-wise, how concerned should we be with this guy that's going to be an interior lineman?
The only concern for this player is injury. Playing-wise, off the field, on the field, absolute star. Character beyond reproach. He's incredible. He's just an incredible kid. Gifted. The fans will love this kid. But, A, we don't know when he'll be ready for the season. The Eagles do expect him to play. We don't know if it'll be September, October, November. The 9th month will be September from the rehab. So hopefully he'll be back in the upper half. Plus, he'll practice first. Then they'll see. They'll be able to estimate when he'll be able to play. Or he's going to be his long-term. I'm told that he was drafted to be Kelsey's replacement. And then they're going to cross-train him, I'm told, this season and to see what he can do. And that's great. If he could play this season, and if he has to play, when I say play, actually get in a game and play, great. But it's not about this season. He was not drafted to be the starter of the season. He was drafted to be the long-term replacement for Kelsey. And the question is, with both ACLs done, his latest one was left. You do wonder, though, there's risk here. There's no question. Anyone who's not concerned is fooling himself. This is a long-term concern. But the Eagles docs, who I'm told grade pretty hard, they sign off on it. So there you go.
So would you have taken him if you were an advisor in the front office and they lean in and they say, hey, Adam, what do you think about this guy? Would you have taken him there in the second round?
I would have to, Mark. It's a great question. Of all the interviews I've done, I've not been asked that question. The way you asked it is really interesting because this is exactly what Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie and Andy Weidel, the personnel director, had to ask themselves, because the way it works is this. He's either a 1 or 2 contract player. If he's a 1 contract player, that means 4 years, you can't draft him. You won't even draft him at all. Mm-hmm. If you think he's a 2 contract player, 4 years plus another one, which means he gets another 4-year deal or 3-year deal, you draft him in the second round. So if you're going to tell me he's a 2 contract player, I'm signing off and we are drafting him in the second round, to answer your question.
Okay. No, that's a great way to put it. 2 contract player or 1 contract player. I like that. By the way, Adam Caplan, don't miss his new Twitch show. You know him, of course, from Inside the Birds podcast and all his NFL coverage throughout his long career. Also now a Twitch channel. You can watch the Adam Caplan show, 7 o'clock on weekdays, covering all things NFL. I do want to branch out real quick.
We should do a show. By the way, we should do something on Twitch. You and I should, at some point before training camp, we'll do a training camp preview on Twitch.
Oh, twist my arm. Absolutely, man. You know, I love that. And then we'll do a little 5-minute segment on the Sixers where the real fun is.
Oh, God. Don't get me started. They're not even playing that great, to be honest with you, but that's another story.
Yeah, and they got 6 wins in a row.
Their schedule's been great. Yeah, the schedule's been great.
Now it has been.
It's worked out. They always seemingly, some star, some really good player, it seems to be out for when they play the Sixers. But, of course, the Sixers have been missing players, so it's equal.
Yeah, it absolutely does. No, don't act like I'm not going to end the interview with a Sixers question. But Adam, I will ask this to go into the national spectrum for a second. There's 1 or 2 more things I want to get on the draft from you. But as far as the national spectrum, Aaron Rodgers and all this stuff going on, what do we believe? What shouldn't we believe? Does Aaron Rodgers want to be back in Green Bay, or is he done in Green Bay?
No. I've known about this. I've known about his angst and disappointment and issues with the front office since last season. Let me go into a scoop I put out. It's pretty interesting. So, a team that played the Packers last season, Rodgers went over to the defensive players. I either out of the huddle, he didn't go into their huddle, but he went over to the defensive side of the football to a team that they were playing. I don't know if the game was home or away, but it doesn't matter. What I do know is that he said, quote, "Get me out of here," unquote. I don't know. Apparently the defensive players, Mark, went over to the sideline. I guess they must have told the coaches and it got up through the front office and everyone for this team. So it's just weird. It's just a weird deal. You just know that he was look. It stems from Jordan Love. Okay, it stems from Jordan Love. That's where it is. So that's where it starts and ends. And he's got issues with the general manager. Which have come to the surface. This has been going on for a while. This is what Packers told me about Aaron Rodgers over the years. He's a super type A. He needs to be handled a certain way. If you don't handle him that way, it could be ugly. And here we are. It's ugly. Now, We're only in May. We're not in August. This matters more. It's one thing to not show up to June mandatory OTAs and take some fines there. If you don't show up to training camp and the fines in the new CBA are so in the millions, if he misses all training camp, then we're talking. Then the Packers have a decision to make. Then they got to look at trading him. And knowing how stubborn this guy is, I've talked to people who've coached there before, who've worked for the Packers. Much as they love him, he's stubborn like an ox. This guy is. So, Mark, to end this discussion on the Packers, keep an eye on the situation. It's absolutely real, and it's not spectacular.
Wow. All right. That's unbelievable. Talking about a 3-time MVP, the reigning MVP. And that boat is well rocked there in Green Bay. Adam, to spin it back to the Eagles and the draft, the only now it's funny. I gave them a B- as well. I gave the Eagles a B- on my draft grade for them.
Why? Why did you give them B-?
Well, one was because I probably would not have taken Dickerson in the second round there because I don't have that much confidence in a guy like that staying healthy when football gets harder with bigger players. And that's just my doctorate, right? That's my MD. But when it comes to what happened in the later rounds, and I see McPherson go to the Eagles in the 4th round, and had that been their number one pressing need, and then to see between their 3rd and 4th round picks, 6 different corners go off the board, I thought that was interesting. I thought the value would have been better and also a match for what they really needed on this team. Not necessarily reaching for a need, but having a need right there for the taking. If they would have taken somebody earlier in the draft to play the cornerback position, it would have been probably a B+ for me for the Eagles. But the fact that they waited that long to take a corner, I thought was interesting.
My belief, Mark, and based on the intel that Jeff Mosher and I have, is that they had DeVonta Smith higher graded than Surtain. Surtain was the highest graded corner. I go for the corner. I don't agree with it, but I don't work for the Eagles. It's their decision. They can do whatever the heck they want. They don't care what I have to say, but I would have done it. I go for the corner. Corner should always be is. I remember Gil Brandt, the Hall of Fame personnel man for the Cowboys, telling me many years ago. Gil and I sat down. It was some event he and I were speaking at, and I asked him, I said, "Hey, Gil, how did you guys build the Cowboys?" I said, as an expansion team, how would you build it? And he goes, quarterback, offensive left tackle for a right-handed quarterback. He said, right defensive end for 43 defense, and then cornerback. So cornerback, Mark, is one of the top 4 positions. And I've never forgotten, this is probably in the early 2000s, but I'm so fascinated by personnel and all that stuff. You take the corner, but if they think Smith is just a better football player than Surtain, okay, I'll sign off on it. But I would have taken the corner.
Okay, so it's funny. So that's where I'm a little reversed. In that round, at that
But again, just to be clear, Surtain went before them anyway, right? He went at 9 to Denver, and they picked at 10. Was it with Dallas, right?
Yes, and as did J.C. Horn.
Right, but again, right. Now talking to the Panthers, Horn was their top-rated corner, and there were 5 players that the Panthers were going to take. If the 5 players were gone from obviously 1 to 7, they would have traded out with the Eagles. The Eagles, I'm told, talked to them. They talked actually multiple times, but in the end, they got who they wanted. But I'm just saying, not apples to apples, but if you're just putting the guys back to back, if both were there and they would have taken Smith over Surtain, I just wouldn't have agreed with it. But I get it. Smith was higher graded on their board, and you got to do it that way. I get it. I'll accept it.
So I guess here's my question then. Why were you surprised? I guess you were surprised then to see them not take a corner until the 4th round, because that's where my issue kind of came in.
Yes.
The fact that, again, between their 3rd round pick, Williams, and their 4th round pick, McPherson, I believe it was 6 corners went off the board in between those 2 picks. So there were corners there for the taking that other teams had a higher grade on, I guess. Why do you think they waited that long? Because that's where I don't think they could get called out for reaching for a corner in that spot. Okay.
Exactly, because in years past, Howie Roseman, the Eagles general manager, when he screwed up, he went for need, and he made it clear. Boy, he was almost defiant in his press conferences with Andy Weidel, the personnel director. He actually talked about it. Roseman was more honest than I could remember him being with this stuff, probably because all the reporting that's been done, and guys who work for him clearly have been calling him out through off the record interviews. But hey, listen, whatever. Look, he stuck by the board. Okay, that I know, that I believe, and you know what? Good for him. And we'll see how these guys fit in. I'm with you. It's not an A draft because of the risk with Dickerson. But man, if this kid works by the way, fans, you're going to love him. I don't know how many games this guy's going to wind up playing for him. but he's such an ass kicker. This kid is unbelievably gifted, and he's a great dude. I'm looking forward to following his career here in Philly.
Anybody that calls out the coach for losing to them in rock paper scissors right out of the gate after they get told they've made it to the NFL, they're a good guy in my book. Certainly entertaining to say the least. Anybody in the later rounds that jumped out to you that you like?
Yeah, the fifth rounder Kenny Gamewell is a guy that I love for this draft. I was hoping the Eagles would draft him so I could see him here. I followed his career for some reason. In 2019, the only season where he really played, he was unbelievable. He might have been the best back in college football. He's incredible. And because Memphis, because they play in Temple's conference, was on TV here all the time. CBS Sports Network, they have the contract for that conference that Temple plays in. So they were on Thursday night football, or Saturday night football, or Saturday afternoon football. And I saw every game that he played. And I don't watch a lot of college football. I just was glued to them. And my God, was he special. He was incredible. And he lined him up. Basically, he was almost a half running back, half receiver. He was dynamic, special. But that is college football. This is a big step up for him, and we'll see how the coaches use him here.
The other name that made it through the draft, Adam, veteran, not a rookie, that's Zach Ertz.
Yeah.
What's the future lie? What lies in the future for Zach Ertz as a Philadelphia Eagle, you think?
He's on the roster, as I've told everyone who's asked. For now, he's on the roster. I don't expect him on the roster in the fall. It's a combination of the Eagles getting what they'd be willing to accept, and Zach willing to either A, restructure his contract, take a pay cut, or work with a future team. Now, for my understanding is he deserves it. His salary is $8.5 million. That's what he expects to be paid. So it's sort of like a cat and mouse game with the Eagles and other teams and Zach, and we'll see how this works out. Everything that I've heard still turns true. I don't expect him to be on the roster this fall, but the Eagles are not going to move him unless they get something that's fair. And Zach's okay with, if a team is willing to accept his salary, that's really going to help this thing get done. The Panthers were not of one of the teams that I heard had interest, and we'll see where this goes. But Zach's been an unbelievable Eagle. Let's not get it wrong here. One of the all-time Eagles, super high characters. Unbelievable for the community. Just comes from a great family. Mom, Lisa, Jeff, and I know, and Josh, our business manager, knows very well. Wonderful lady, wonderful person, great mom, and love the family. I hosted an event with Zach some years ago, but we'll see where this goes. It's fluid right now. Where again, he's on the roster now, and as I keep warning people, folks, rarely are trades made before training camp. They get done by the draft or during the draft. There's just no urgency to do anything. The only urgency there would be for the mandatory camp in June, if he shows up for that one. I don't know why he wouldn't, but if he shows up for it, you don't want him to get hurt on there because you become, by injury protection, you get liable for it if he suffers an injury because you couldn't cut him. You would have to owe him the money if he can't play this season. So just keep an eye on that situation.
Are we going over or below a fourth-round pick, you think, for Zach Ertz?
Won't get a fourth rounder. I thought all along that would be the fair value. Mm-hmm. But, we knew that he had surgery, ankle surgery. He does turn 31. You just have to wonder, as a couple teams told me, they love the leadership part of it, and they love that he's an unbelievable route runner, gets open. But they do wonder, is he the same player, Mark, that he once was? And that is the issue that teams have right now and why the Eagles are not getting a fourth. Now, remember since we've gotten through the draft, you would only be getting compensation most likely for next year. I don't know that. I kind of got to get a chuckle out this. People were asking me before the draft, could the Eagles get a starting corner for them? No team's giving up a starting corner for a 31-year-old tight end.
That's wishful thinking.
Yeah, it's just not happening. Now, could they get a guy that's buried on the depth chart that they had a high grade on the previous years? Yes. Maybe that might happen. But they're not going to get a whole lot for him. It's just you have to wonder, how many years does Zach have left? I don't know.
Right. Adam Caplan, always providing great football insight with Inside the Birds, as well as your new Twitch show, breaking down the NFL for everybody, all fan bases. You can check it out on twitch.tv. Make sure you subscribe to Adam's channel as well. It's right there on Twitch 5 days a week for you, 7 o'clock each weeknight. And, of course, all the great stuff you do with Jeff Mosher, like I said, with Inside the Birds podcast. Adam, thank you for enlightening us. And, sorry, Nets, Sixers, Eastern Conference Final?
The Nets play no defense. The Bucks don't worry me all that much.
I'm with you.
They will have a plan for Giannis. The Sixers need to get Tobias Harris going. He's been kind of slow, a little bit slow lately with his offense. But Embiid, no one more dominant in the NBA right now. I have so much trust in Doc Rivers. I do. He's just been what a breath of fresh air. I am such a fan of his. I didn't follow him all that much. You know, Mark, you've lived here your whole life like I have. Other than Dick Vermeil, Andy Reid to a certain extent, few coaches in sports here. Dallas Green did. I'm old enough to remember Dallas Green, the late Dallas Green, but few coaches here have had the pulse of how to manage their players here like Doc Rivers has. I know he hasn't been here that long, not even a full season yet, but he's been unbelievable, and I'm so glad we have him.
No, I'm right there with you. Adam, once again, brother, great catching up with you. Good luck with the new Twitch show and, of course, all the great stuff you guys are doing with Inside the Birds podcast with yourself and Jeff Mosher. Adam, thank you, brother.
You got it. Thank you.
The great Adam Caplan joining us here on the Zados Investments guest line.